Wow, so this could have been the end if they would have just listed something on the freaking search warrant.
Yes.
Because I assume as long as you list something on the search warrant, even if you go in and find something that isn't listed on the search warrant, it's still valid, I would think.
Yeah, and I don't know, I haven't seen the search warrant. I don't know what they wrote on there. Like, they knew what they were looking for. So I don't know if they were just like vague about it, if they just wrote like tax records or whatever they wrote. But apparently the judge decided against them. And this is Judge Kenneth Grubb. Like, this isn't like this guy's a friend of the mob. Like, this guy has ruled against them on many occasions. So, like, this is not a corrupt judge. He's just, whatever happened here, they didn't do a very thorough job with the paperwork, I guess. So
yeah, and if you think about it, if this guy is not a friendly judge to the mafia, I mean, more than likely he's fully aware of who Frank Balistreri is and wants to see him go down.
He's 100% aware, yeah.
So they must have really mucked up this paperwork for him to say, you got to give it back. Yeah. Because, otherwise he's going to side way on the side of the law enforcement as opposed to the Frank Balistreri. Unless, I guess, maybe he was threatened or something. Like
I don't think so. But yeah, so I'm going to pause it here because this is like a good pause because now, like, they had him. Nope. Reversed. And this story is so bizarre because we know they're looking into his tax issues as early as 1960. From looking at things, they know that he's been doing things incorrectly, at least since 55. We're now up to 1963. Frank is now kind of like on the winning side of this fight because the thing that they had against him, they now don't have.
Yeah, they lost it completely.
Yeah, and this is going to go on, like, I don't think I'm giving away, but like this is a pretty well-known thing. Like, he does end up going to prison for tax fraud, but that's not till like 1970. So this ongoing back and forth is going to go on for several more years.
Wow. And we're never going to hear the end of this story because it's going to take us forever to get to 1970.
Yeah. But it's like, if you want to say that he started goofing his taxes in 1955, which probably was sooner than that even, but we'll say 55, and he ends up finally getting convicted in 1970, that's 15 years. They knew he was doing it wrong, but couldn't actually nail him for it. That's pretty good.
And the interesting thing is too, they're trying to nail him for it. There's probably millions of people that don't do their taxes right. But the government isn't trying to nail them for it. In this guy, they're directly trying to get him, and they just can't.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like, he is probably not the worst offender. I mean, I don't know how many people the IRS look into each year for tax issues, But I'm guessing he is not the worst of the worst. But because he's got that name, there's definitely a large amount of resources going in this direction. Like, they are trying.
Mm-hmm. So now, would you, I guess, are these companies and things that they're looking into for the tax purposes, would you consider that mafia connected? Or are they just targeting this because they know Frank Balistreri owns it and they're going after... They're just looking for a way to bring him down. You get what I'm saying?
I'm not sure, because I don't know where one ends and the other begins. That's sort of the trick of it.
Because are they attacking things he's doing, mafia-related things he's doing, or are they just attacking his personal businesses because they know he's a part of the mafia to bring him down?
If I understand your question, I mean...
Like,
I think they're going after... I don't think they care about the businesses as much as they care about him. So it's the businesses that he owned or was involved in.
Right.
I don't think it started the other way.
Yeah, like, when you look at these businesses, you wouldn't call these mafia-owned businesses. These are Frank Balistreri-owned businesses who happens to be the mob boss for the mafia.
Yes, although, like I said, I'm not really sure what the difference is. Like, it's kind of the same thing.
Okay.
Because, like, yeah, they are his businesses, but because they are his businesses,
they're kind of controlled and run by the mafia.
Like, the people he's going to hire to work there are going to be his mob buddies, and they're running the money through them in a questionable way. And that's, like I said early on, like, if you've worked in restaurants and stuff, or bars, or any, cash heavy business, like, what he's doing is not unusual.
Mm-hmm.
But that is part of the reason that you see so many people in the mafia own bars, restaurants, nightclubs, because they're cash heavy businesses. Like, like, everything that goes through them does not have to be taken into account. It should, but it obviously doesn't.
Right.
So yeah, like, that's not unusual that there's a big overlap between those types of businesses and the mob. But at the same time, the vast majority of those businesses that are probably having similar business practices are not mob businesses.
Right.
I don't know. It's tough. It's weird. Over the years of doing this, and I've been doing this, I don't know how long now, 12 years? Maybe longer? I don't even remember.
Probably longer.
Yeah.
When did the original Milwaukee Mafia book come out?
The original Milwaukee Mafia book came out in 2012. So that's 11 years plus however long it took to put that together. So, yeah.
Plus, you were probably dabbling in this long before that as well.
Yeah, but it's like, it is weird, like, how I've come around. Like, my point of view has changed so much in the last 10 years from being like, oh, the mob, bad guys, bust the bad guys, I mean, it wasn't that simple, but it's kind of that angle. And now, like, I still feel that way to a point, because it's not cool to go out and, like, hijack people and, like, murder. Like, that's not cool. But a lot of the stuff that they actually end up getting in a lot of trouble for isn't that bad. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's tax fraud, it's gambling, it's things like that. And it's no worse than what a lot of other people do.
Right. So,
like, the things that they actually end up getting prison time for is, like, the stupidest things. And they get in trouble not necessarily because they're the worst offenders, but because they have names and they can't get in trouble for the things that they should be getting in trouble for.
Kind of like, you look at it from the perspective of Frank Balistreri went to prison for tax fraud. Mm-hmm. But yet, at some point in time, he probably ordered somebody to be killed.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
And never got anything for that, which just seems really counterintuitive.
Yeah, you pretty much, if you're in the mob and you killed a guy or you ordered a guy killed, you're not going to prison for it. Mm-hmm. It's just not going to happen. They almost never solve mob murders. So you got to get them for the other stuff. But it's funny because, like, on an individual basis, like, if you ignore what the name of the person on trial is, it's not necessarily what they're doing is the most terrible thing in the world.
And that's kind of a shame because when so I'll be on, I've gone on this long binge of watching this TV show called American Greed. Have you ever heard of this?
I've heard of it, but I've not seen it.
It's like they just cover a different, like, Ponzi scheme or some sort of scam that was run in the United States in each episode.
Yeah.
But it shocks me when they talk about the sentences these people get, because these people are stealing millions and millions and millions of dollars from people, and they get like 6 years of prison time.
Yeah.
So it's a shame. I don't know. You've probably said how long Frank Balistreri actually went to prison.
It's not long. It's 2 years or less.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, they're going after him for these complex things that you really, for some reason, don't get any prison time for, which is a shame to me, for one thing.
Yeah.
And two, it just seems like a very inefficient way to do it. Go solve the murders, because you can then throw them in jail for a very long time.
Right. Oh, and these are two different things. I mean, like, what Frank was doing and, like, what most mob guys do, they're fudging the numbers and they're hurting the IRS. And you can make a case. You can be like, well, that's money that should go to taxes, and the taxes fund schools. And you could, if you want to, you could try to make these big, lofty arguments. But basically, nobody's getting hurt by what these guys are doing. Now, what you're talking about with the Ponzi schemes,
People are getting hurt.
that's legit.